And welcome back to the Pro Football Pod. We got the boys. We're back talking about the AFC South this week. Did you guys have a good week so far?
Hell yeah.
So far, so good. We're here. We're living life. Look at us. Another week of the pod. You know, if anything, I just like the commitment us fellas show. Austin, you may get here 2 minutes before we have to go live and, just keep it. But we're here. Look at us. We're only 1 minute late.
Show up, baby. That's all that counts.
That's all that matters. I think that I am super disappointed with this division after going through all these players, even more than I was before going through this division.
Man, I got super
I'm just
hyped
saying,
about
after
this
looking, if the Jaguars don't win this division by a landslide, something is very wrong.
I mean, that is the team to beat, but
I'm talking. No, they need to win this division by like 6 or 7 games, and I'm not even playing.
The Colts have a chance though in this division to catch a wild card and make it.
They need AR. They need AR to step up away.
It's a question mark. It's a huge question mark on whether or not he's going to be the guy or not.
Now, the Colts were smart to let Nyheim Hines go in free agency because he just had a season-ending knee injury. He's going to be totally gone. Fantasy irrelevant. He might show up in the playoffs or something.
Accident.
What the fuck? A knee injury from a jet ski. How does that happen?
From what I heard, it was his homie, like his own, like they're just out there messing around on jet skis and then like straight T-bone style, tip of the jet ski right into the knee.
Jesus. So he came back to the Colts?
No, he was on the Bills.
Yeah.
Yes.
James Cook season, baby. James Cook and Damian Harris.
What I said was that the Colts were smart to let him go in free agency. Yeah, exactly.
Gotcha.
Didn't they trade last year? Didn't they trade like
what
Zach
it
Moss
was
and
at the
Nyheim
trade
Hines
deadline?
For,
it was,
and like a couple draft picks.
Yep, it was
That's
right at the end. Now there was another player that got hurt almost immediately after in training camp, non-contact injury. Do you guys remember who it was? I can't remember.
Chauncey Gardner-Johnson.
Damn.
The Lions just picked him up in free agency, and their defensive back group was looking much improved. So, yeah, that's going to be a big hit to their secondary, especially because they let Deshaun Elliott walk, and now he's in Miami.
Well, they still got Jeff Okudah over there, right?
No, they traded him to Philly.
Yeah, remember last year?
That's tough.
Yeah.
Watch out for Okudah.
I mean, I guess not.
They
got a third for him.
Option.
They didn't even get a first for him. They only got a third. Like, that's kind of shit. I mean, he hasn't had a great career. He's been a little bit banged up.
It's because Philly's going to have to pay him. Like, that's why. Philly,
makes sense.
They took a dip on the draft pick because Philly's going to take over the bank account, basically. Like, that's why.
Did you guys see anything else happening this week? It seems like it's been a little bit dry. Training camp started up. We already had 2 injuries.
I mean, it's not really dry. At least we get some clips from like practices and stuff like that.
Training camps are starting up. Yeah, they really started getting in today.
Bad news for y'all, but like the best clips I've been seeing so far is A-Rod. That boy been slinging that rock and that connection between Garrett Wilson and him is looking nice.
It's Aaron Rodgers. It's Aaron Rodgers, Hall of Fame quarterback, one of the good.
Yeah, you say his first and his last name. Okay, not either one. You say them both.
So, but my thing is too, the Jets started training camp before anybody else. They were one of the first teams to start.
That makes sense.
Because they're in New York.
There's more content out there to be had.
Now, we still haven't started.
Out there, and we've been seeing it out here on these Twitter streets. Sauce Gardner and the holds. Like, it's still, everybody last year, other than Jets fans, loved to point out that, like, Sauce Gardner was getting away with a good bit of, like, holds and stuff, getting away with some penalties that should have been thrown. And, I mean, I don't know if it's just, he's marketable, so they kind of want to keep the flag in the pocket. It's kind of ticky-tack, like you could call it, but you really can't call it. I know there was at least 5 or 6 last year I watched live that they should have absolutely called, and they just didn't. But even in these clips,
there were 10 versus the Dolphins.
It's either that or Garrett Wilson is ready to take the leap, because Garrett Wilson has been looking great in the clips I've been seeing.
He's
he's one of those, like, I'm telling you, second, third round is where he's going to be going in these drafts coming up. And he'll be one of those dudes that could finish top 5 at the end of the year just because of who his quarterback is.
100%.
But we'll dive into the Jets on another week.
Yes, I can't wait to get into the whole AFC East except for the Patriots. But that's at least 3 good teams, right?
That's gonna be a boring
Isn't
year to
it
talk
nice to
about for
say
real,
that?
bro.
Like, isn't it nice
So
to feel
like
good to just be like, the Patriots
we've
aren't
earned
good.
it. For
We have
22
20.
years, it was just a mud hole stomped in the ass of every AFC East fan. And so we've earned it. Like, sit on the bottom, enjoy it for a few years, and like we'll save it because obviously we just have a passion about the AFC and the NFC East here in this pod. So we'll save all that, but I've got some hot takes about Bill Belichick for this season coming up.
Okay, well, everybody hold your horses. We got the AFC South this week, so we'll start it off with the Jags, the team that we think is going to win it all. Honestly, I'm with you. Trevor Lawrence,
Win the
14th in
division,
passing.
not the Super Bowl.
True. I meant all by the
sorry.
AFC South. I didn't mean
You
all
did
by
confuse
everything.
me. I do think he has a chance, but okay.
He was 14th in passer rating, 16th in completion percentage, 6th in touchdown, and 7th in interceptions. That sounds like a playoff caliber quarterback, which he was last year.
All gonna improve this year because he just got a hell of a good receiver in there, Calvin Ridley.
I actually can't wait to talk about him. We'll wait until we cover Trevor a little bit. I mean, I guess we're kind of already there. Calvin Ridley, 20th receiver off the board, 48th ADP, with Christian Kirk being the 28th receiver and 67th ADP. I don't fucking get that at all. Kirk already has a relationship with Trevor Lawrence. He's already shown.
No, you go ahead.
He's already shown
why.
His ability to eat in that offense with Peterson, so he's already got a year in the system. Ridley is absolutely a special player. I had him as my dynasty guy, and I love him. But to think he's going to come in and just eat so much more with Zay Jones, Evan Ingram, Christian Kirk, and Travis Etienne there, I think it's going to be hard for any of these guys to hit their ADP, honestly. But I think that Kirk is definitely higher than Ridley on my list.
So, in the last full season that Calvin Ridley played back in 2020, before any injury, suspension, any of that there, right?
Again, like you said, back in 2020.
Was in a 16-game season. So he played 15 games, 143 targets, 90 receptions, 1,300 yards, 91 yards per game, 9 touchdowns, and he earned second-team All-Pro honors. That is why Calvin Ridley is going higher than all of that. Like his ADP and everything, that's really not that great. For me, that's great value because I feel like there's going to be some people that are going to pass him up exactly for what you're saying. Oh, I'll wait on Christian Kirk. Or are we really sure about what's going on here? Do we forget he's wearing the number 0 this year?
Well, there you go. No, my bad. I didn't realize that. Take it all back.
This means everything. It's stuff like that. You've got to take those things into factor. And while I'm with you, if you miss on Ridley where Kirk is going, it's absolutely great value. But Christian Kirk just had his best season, played 2 more games than Ridley did in 2020, and didn't touch those benchmarks.
With Zay Jones and Evan Ingram having phenomenal years. Whenever we go through Evan Ingram's shit, you guys are going to shit a brick. This guy was 4th in yards, 3rd in receptions of all tight ends. He didn't get a lot of touchdowns, but there weren't a lot of touchdowns to go around.
He was
because
great
honestly,
the 20s.
Etienne didn't get a lot of touchdowns. He was 20th and 33rd in rushing and receiving. Evan Ingram was 11th in touchdowns. Nobody on that team scored a lot of touchdowns, which is kind of what I think is going to happen this year. I don't know if Trevor Lawrence is going to throw for 5,500 yards and 50 touchdowns, but if he throws for 35 and 4,500, they're all going to eat, but where they're being drafted, I don't know. What do you think, Austin?
So that's what's tough is buying into these players. You don't know if the team, how much they're buying in and they're going to feed him, whether he's going to be that main factor guy. Like a Justin Jefferson, that dude's going to get the rock 20 times a game.
You're not worried about Jordan Addison.
Yeah, I mean, he can give some value there, Jordan Addison.
But you're not worried about what he takes away from Jefferson.
Stealing, because what Justin Jefferson can give you. You've seen it. We've all seen it. So, it's a question mark, and it's something you got to gamble on. Life is a gamble. Like
Of Ingram at his ADP.
We've seen what Ridley can do, and we've seen what Trevor Lawrence can do. And so if we can just combine those, I mean, he's a much better Matt Ryan by far. So
my question for both of you: ETN at 33, Kirk at 67, Zay Jones at 162, Evan Ingram at 91, or Ridley at 48. Who do you guys think has the highest value based off of their ADP?
probably Ingram. Just because
he's going off the board as a tight end 8. That's not a bad call. I mean,
yeah, I think
as far as their ADP, I would probably go ETN just because
33.
of the depth at running back is nowhere near the depth at wide receiver at what you're getting. So for me, ETN at 33, you figure a 10-man league, he's going late 3rd round, early 4th round. So for me, if that ends up being your running back 1, you probably snatched up an elite tight end or a couple of elite wide receivers or something beforehand. So I'm okay with that. Versus,
I love
like
taking
I said,
that route.
Kirk's got great value because of where you can get him, but it's also what's his possible ceiling. Etienne had a solid year last year, but I expect him to take another little jump this year as well. I mean, he lost 3 fumbles, 0 reception or 0 touchdowns in the passing game, only 5 touchdowns on the ground. He had a 1,000 yards. That's what you're looking for as a benchmark for a running back. Can't be mad at that. 5.1 yards per carry. That was great to see. We've been talking about yards per carry in the last couple episodes here. So at 35 receptions out of the passing game, averages about 9 yards of reception. So he's pretty much getting tackled. So my thing is about finding him more opportunities.
Absolutely. In the passing game. I think that's the key to his success and him crushing your ADP of 33. If he's more of a receiver than he was last year, which he stepped up at the end of the year. If you guys remember, Etienne had a very slow start, just like Cam Akers.
Coming off an injury,
he came off the Achilles injury.
Yeah,
that's
it was
a huge
essentially his
injury.
Rookie year last year.
Exactly, he wasn't supposed to even be good at all last year. So when
now
he did
we're talking
start
about
to pop,
a 3rd-year season.
I definitely think he has value.
Yeah,
I think right now he's running back 13. He could definitely fall into the top 10 by the end of the season, as long as Christian Kirk, Zay Jones, Evan Ingram, and Ridley don't eat too much of his production. If he's not getting 25% of the target share of the whole offense, like in carries and receptions, then that's where ETN's value is going to drop off. If he's seen as like a utility piece.
I think Zay Jones is the odd man out there.
Absolutely. Now, he's going to have a lot of value in really deep leagues and also as like a streamer if somebody goes down or just in general. Yeah. But he's not going to be draftable. 162 is not someone we're looking at. Did you guys have anything else you wanted to add on the Jags?
Yeah, so for betting wise purposes, one of my favorite bets last year is Trevor Lawrence rushing yards. They always put it at like 16 yards, and he always just takes off up the middle for one. So just watch out for his rushing yards props.
He averaged 17 yards a game rushing.
Yeah,
nice.
And they put it at
you literally
16.
said 16 points. He averaged 17 yards rushing, had 5 rushing touchdowns. And like you said, like just to, add on there, like Trevor Lawrence, I think last year is, you got to throw out his first year with Urban Meyer. Now,
oh my God, yeah.
For some reason, nobody throws out the years that Tua had, a freaking duffel bag as his offensive coordinator, but we're not going to talk about that yet. So throw out the Urban Meyer year for Trevor Lawrence. Last year is exactly what you were hoping to see out of him. And what he did in that playoff game versus the Chargers to come back down from 28-0, 35-0, it was incredible. Like, so that is what you were hoping to see out of him. So if Trevor does start to make that leap, I think that's where you do start talking about the Jags as a possible dark horse team in the playoffs, because with those offensive weapons, they can be dangerous. And they've got Doug Peterson calling those plays.
As well, quarterback 8 is pretty late, honestly. 56th overall pick. I think that he could probably finish as top 5 quarterback. I think Aaron Rodgers is way overvalued right now because of Garrett Wilson. Aaron Rodgers is not going to run the ball 17 yards a game and get 5 touchdowns. He's not going to get, he's going to get his stuff, but he's not
smart about it.
Even Tua, as an example, Tua's ability to outperform Trevor Lawrence has to do solely with his arm. Trevor Lawrence having that dual threat capability, he might not be able to use it like Fields and Lamar Jackson can, but he's definitely there. Quarterback 8 seems a bit disrespectful. I definitely think, everyone else on this list is where they should be.
He landed last year, but they should be bumping him up a lot more because of what the weapons he has over there now to work with. The whole team as a whole is getting older.
Honestly, I think if you were to take out how much weight rushing has for quarterbacks in fantasy, touchdowns, yards, all of that, I think Trevor Lawrence would be much higher. It's guys like Fields and Lamar that are ahead of him and stuff like that.
But I can't believe people are higher on Fields than Trevor Lawrence right now. Like
rightfully so. But if you're taking out the rushing part of it, I would take Trevor Lawrence over Josh Allen. And I'm not even hating as a Dolphins fan.
Absolutely.
Just a game.
He's a way better.
He hasn't led the league in turnovers for the last 3 years. Like, that's my thing.
He looks
25
like
touchdowns, 8 interception ratio. Like, that's what I'm looking at. Like, keep it single digits in the interceptions, and you're not losing points there in fantasy anyway. So that's all I've got left on the Jags. I expect them to take a leap. They should win this division by a handful of games.
So we definitely all think they're winning the division. What do you guys think their record will be at the end of the year? You think they get over 10 wins?
I think they could finish 11-5 because of their division.
Yeah.
Well, you figured their division, if they sweep that's 6 wins right there.
Exactly. Which they should.
But I think that the Titans
there's a lot of exciting stuff in this division.
You still have to deal with the Titans head coach. Like, all the roster positions don't even fucking matter whenever it comes to
people are counting them out.
Titans and Jaguars, that's like a low-key rivalry, too. Like,
I like it, too.
Yeah.
Especially with Peterson now. Peterson being the Jags guy. Like, I loved Peterson. Obviously, everyone loved him as an Eagles guy. I can't believe that he left. All right, so next team we're talking about is the Titans. Titans do not look as nice. Now, they do have that running back, Derrick Henry, ADP 21. I cannot believe that he's not a top 10 pick. I've never seen Derrick Henry since DeMarco Murray left.
The ADPs I put in the chat, just as a heads up, those are PPR. I didn't do standard because most people are playing PPR.
Even still, I can't believe Derrick Henry.
There's no way people are going based off of the offense.
Okay, you want to know why Derrick Henry's so low? Every running back I charted, if they were effective in the pass game, I charted their passing stats. Derrick Henry was not very effective in the
last year. He was
24th in receptions. He was 24th in receptions. He actually got fed decently. 24th isn't,
swing passes,
a lot, but
hit it the line of scrimmage, couple yards.
I love it.
Like, great for receptions, and he had a few big time plays, but I don't believe he had any receiving touchdowns.
No touchdowns, none. He had none. That's correct.
But he's also big time plays.
That's also because if he gets a pass and he brings it to the 2, then they're going to give him the ball to push it in. Like, they're not going to – you're never throwing Derrick Henry a ball within the 20-yard line. Like, that's just not even happening. You're just going to hand it to him.
Very, very valid.
His stiff-arm game is elite.
Everybody else on this team, I'm fucking terrified of. Even DeAndre Hopkins at 51 overall, 21st receiver off the board right after Ridley, before Christian Kirk. Fuck that bullshit. That means Tannehill is going to make a number 1 receiver. It doesn't matter that this guy was the best receiver in football 4 years ago. Like, he's not going to be able to do anything with the franchise.
No. Agreed. But where you're getting him in the draft, we're talking about DeAndre Hopkins here. Like,
so you're thinking him touchdown value.
I'm thinking of him as I'm getting a possible home run every week as my 3rd wide receiver or my first flex position. That's what I'm thinking with his ADP there, because you've already, at that point, more than likely, you've already drafted your starting 2 wide receivers.
Hopefully. Yeah, hopefully.
And so you're just hoping whichever quarterback's throwing him the ball that week, it's just he's getting fed constantly, and it's DeAndre Hopkins. Why would you not feed him? Who else are you going to give the ball to?
I mean, their tight end was looking pretty nice at the end of the year. Conquo. I don't know if y'all saw him, but he was popping off.
Hey, 32
So here's something.
receptions, 7 big time plays. Big
Now,
time plays, anything over 15 yards.
The reason
that's great
that he's number 2 behind Travis Kelce in PFF ranking for tight ends is because of those big plays and because of how he stepped it up at the end of the year. He's one that I'm very excited about. His average draft position is tight end 11. I'm not necessarily taking him as my first, but I would fucking kill to have him as my second tight end.
Hell yeah.
And I'll take him back to back. Great.
And tight ends have been doing great for the Titans for years now. Because, I mean, their coach used to be a tight end. So,
exactly.
They love to do that shit.
Jelani Jenkins a couple of years ago before he got broke off. So I think that
Mike Vrabel was a linebacker that
caught
passes as a tight end in Super Bowls.
But I see where you're going. That's why it confused me.
Yeah, I see where you're going with that.
The man's got hands.
Dan Campbell is the head coach that was a tight end.
Yes, correct. Sir. Dan Campbell.
Now, Treylon Burks.
I mean, he could have a studly year. That was a rookie
Westbrook,
year last year. Akine? Come on now.
Burks only played 11 games. He dealt with a lot of injuries.
My problem is not Burks. It's fucking
football.
Ryan Tannehill.
Yeah, that's the issue. No, honestly,
it has nothing. If Tannehill goes down week 1,
gets in there very quick.
Then bam, I'm real happy because now we get to see Malik Willis, we get to see Will Levis. But if Tannehill is running this team in November,
where they don't know to put back Tannehill in,
but my thing with Levis
if they're doing good,
comparing him to Tannehill, you're gaining arm strength.
But that doesn't mean accuracy.
You're
and,
losing
anything else.
accuracy by a lot.
Because you're losing decision making.
Tannehill, 65.2% completion percentage, 211 yards per game, 2-to-1 touchdown interception ratio. Game manager, solid. Will Levis, he might get you 400 yards, but he also might throw 3 interceptions. So I think,
especially in his first year.
And that's the thing; it's his first year. Nobody has really any tape on him in the NFL, so they can throw him in there and spook some teams up, and it can fuck some teams up going in there to play him. They got a great running back, a great defense to play behind them, a solid wide receiver to fill in. That they lost AJ Brown, they're filling in the pieces that they need to. It's just that quarterback position that's a question mark.
I'm excited for the future of the Titans, but this year does not seem like that year. I think that the contract that they've been paying Tannehill the last 3 years is what stopped them from being able to compete. Tannehill got them to the playoffs right away. They signed him from the Dolphins, and he just was like, oh, you guys want to make the playoffs? No worries. First round lost. First round lost.
Cousins.
First round lost. Exactly. So he's the original Kirk Cousins that's not even as cool as Kirk Cousins because he doesn't even have a cool line.
Well,
he just used to play wide receiver for Texas A&M.
Kirk Cousins has both the best comebacks in NFL history, so you can't beat that.
Yeah, well, he also has got Kirk O'Chains, so.
Yeah.
DeAndre Hopkins, again, I'm going to say it. I don't know about it. I totally hear what you're saying, Justin, that he could end up having the value as a wide receiver 3. I just don't think that this team will give him enough volume. I think that the Cardinals needed DeAndre Hopkins because they had James Conner, but James Conner does not play for the Titans. They have King Henry. And behind King Henry, they let Dontrell Hilliard go in free agency.
Yeah, to the Carolina.
So
wasn't it?
Did they draft somebody or do they have somebody else behind?
They drafted the Michigan running back. Spacing his name now, but he's solid. Okay. They got dudes behind him, ready to go.
Rasheed Rice?
Nope.
Rasheed Rice, something like that. Is that his name?
Sirree.
You guys are getting a little look behind the veil right here.
It's just, you gotta get used to season, baby. I can't wait to react to the games, man. That's the best part about this shit.
Yeah, the games. I mean, I think that
that's the content.
Oh shit! No, this year they drafted Tyjae Spears, the running back from Tulane.
But Hassan Haskins from Michigan.
Haskins was
that
last
boy can
year.
Run the ball.
Yeah, so they're building a stable behind Derrick Henry.
Yeah, they know he's on his way out, but he's still got some juice in the tank.
I have been really against Derrick Henry for the last 2 or 3 years because of his injury history and his draft position. If you can get Derrick Henry at the end of the second round or the beginning of the third round as your first running back, then you do it.
Or your running back too,
I
depending
mean,
on
you
how you draft. Yeah.
fucking. I'm sorry for the language, but you do. All right, you do.
I'd apologize.
I have been hard on Henry for the last couple of years because I didn't believe in his ADP. I believe in this a lot. So that's someone I'm absolutely targeting.
And it is probably the passing game that was hurting him, but a lot of people don't realize he's actually, last year was the first year he's actually gaining a lot of hands and receiving.
Yeah, getting some passing work. Now the
Yeah.
Colts, Jonathan Taylor, I feel like it's been a similar stigma with him. He looks like Breece Hall. Breece Hall looks like him. That's much more accurate to
that
say.
boy's already proven himself.
Breece Hall looks like him, except for Breece Hall did it way better last year. He looked like he was more elusive in the pass. He looked like he had better hands, and just in general was kind of everywhere. I want to see Jonathan Taylor take that step. Now, we gave some news last week that he had severe ankle injury all last season. There was like bone fragments rustling around inside of his ankle, and he's gotten all that shit cleaned up. So, average draft position of 10, just like Derrick Henry, this is way too low. He's going to be a top 3 running back. He's going to have to. There's no way that you should be waiting until 10 to take Jonathan Taylor. I'm taking him way before that.
I didn't think he was falling to 10. I thought he was definitely a top 6, top 7.
He's the running back 5 off the board.
It's the injury. It's a big injury aspect.
And that's why I'm saying you've got to buy into it.
It's
and
the
plus
injury
the quarterback.
aspect, and it's getting to where they're like, dude, where like, you know, we said everybody's more getting to where they're playing PPR. It's more points. It's just more fun. Like, and so because of that, if you're not absolutely elite in the pass game, like Austin Eckler or Christian McCaffrey, a lot of your value takes a hit. You're going to be drafting guys like Cooper Kupp, Tyreek Hill, Devontae Adams, Jalen Waddle, maybe even Travis Kelce. Like, honestly, I have a full fantasy outlook on if I get a top 3 pick and the 2 guys I don't want aren't there, taking Travis Kelce and building a team with Travis Kelce as the top 3 pick.
3? Oh,
yeah.
shit.
Oh, I've got a whole breakdown mentally of who will be available in the coming rounds, and you can build an elite squad taking Travis. But that's what I'm saying. You can take a tight end that high, and it's holding more value in fantasy these days than a running back. Unless Jonathan Taylor, you can guarantee 15 to 16 games, especially at the end of the season, and the production that you're expecting.
It's like 55 catches.
In the game,
if you can get
he
50,
played 11 games last year, but you only got 78.3 yards per game. That's not what you're wanting out of your running back. And he lost 3 fumbles, and he's not a guy that's known for fumbling. So that's my thing with him going forward, is how much of these issues are going to persist, or was it just a 1 year, like he shit the bed, it was just a wash season, and he's going to be back to what he was?
So based off of last year's statistics, Jonathan Taylor was the 47th ranked running back. He was 27th in receptions, 27th in yards per average, 29th in rushing touchdowns, and 33rd in receiving because he had 0. Same as
he only played
Henry.
11 games, though. That's why.
Now, and also, Jonathan Taylor tends to explode in the back half of the season and have a horrible first half. So with the fully healthy and the not having to wait until he gets into midseason prime, I'm hoping for a lot more. I think that this is the time to take a player like Jonathan Taylor, because next year, if he does fall off the wagon totally, then you're going to get him in the 5th round. But if he ends up being, if he ends up being something solid this year, then you're going to get a lot of value. 10th overall is not that great. There's a lot of players that fall at that point that are going to be total ass. So
you might be able to get Henry and Taylor back to back.
And it's going to be hard to get a running back, man. If you're willing to play the stream option and to get lucky, then fuck him. Go get Tyreek Hill. But if you're trying to build a true dynasty with the 10th pick in a 10 or 12 man league, I'm taking Jonathan Taylor and then taking the top receiver on the wrap. I love that. It's like Nick Chubb every year. You get
Well,
Nick Chubb at 10
Nick's going
every
earlier
year.
this year. Nick's going
And,
like 5 or 6 this year.
but that's what I
Sometimes
mean.
4.
He doesn't even have Kareem Hunt to be the thunder to his the lightning to his thunder. I don't know if he's going to he's going to get more looks, but that could end up being the detrimental thing to Nick Chubb's career. He's done so well with having a guy to take a little bit of pressure on him, and he was a top 20 back.
Nick Chubb at 10, yeah, like you said, if he falls to you there at the back half and you know you're getting the wraparound or a little wraparound or, wraparound. If you're getting that, then, that you got to take him because whoever else you want is going to be there for you. Like, so
Exactly.
and the production you're going to get out of him, you're getting what should be in a normal fantasy draft, top 5 pick production out of a guy that just drops in your lap.
Now, another guy, Anthony Richardson, going as quarterback 16. That sounds a lot to me like Lamar's rookie year, not his rookie year, his second season, and where you were able to get Lamar, and then he ended up finishing as quarterback 1, and he legitimately, in the 12th or 13th round, won you your league. It didn't even matter how many mistakes you made for 11 rounds before that. You got Lamar, you won the season. So I think that it's a little bit stupid to not have him as the 13th or 14th quarterback off the board. There's just too much value. You get to get a safe option, and then you get to gamble on AR.
I just think that he's gonna make it look like backyard football. The way that Lamar does, and it's just like an athlete on the field, and you cannot stop him. So like it's gonna be dangerous with him and Jonathan Taylor back there, and with the defense. Like it's another scary team. I told you they're a quarterback away from going to the Super Bowl, and
For the last couple years.
Yeah, but like it's tough. Where do you guys see before we get I know we're already off the Titans, but where did you guys see them doing for their schedule? You think they'll be at like around 8 and 9?
I don't know. They're playing in a really tough conference. Like playing in the AFC, they're going to play a couple of games this year that I don't think. I think that they're going to have a hard time making it to a winning record. 8 and 9 is not bad, but if they can't pull at least one win off of the Jags and 2 off the Colts and 2 off the Texans, then I think that's the Titans' best hope.
So yeah, I think 8 to 9 wins is probably the ceiling for them. Like I don't see them winning double-digit games this year.
And that's kind of good for them too. I mean, it's just like how they've been doing. It's not better. Like, what did they do last year? They didn't finish much better than 500.
No, not much better. They were just a little bit below it, but they weren't going to make the playoffs. No, they didn't. They didn't make it last year. It was Trevor Lawrence and the Dolphins.
To Washington.
Yeah. Both of the Dolphins and Trevor Lawrence are the 2 teams that were able to sneak in right at the end for the AFC side. Pittman's ADP, 70th overall. That has a lot to do with how bad he did last year. I don't expect too much from him. He's going to get fed.
That's right.
He's going to get a lot of targets, we're hoping. But like Austin was just saying, Anthony Richardson, if he ends up playing some backyard football out there, then Pittman, Pierce, all these guys.
He's a big man. He can go up and get that rock. Like he's not scared to. He was a rookie last year.
See, my issue
that was like his third year season though.
My issue with Pittman, and granted, I know I said he made second team All Pro that season, but Calvin Ridley's 2020 season where he made All Pro. Calvin Ridley had 143 targets and 90 receptions. Michael Pittman had 141 targets and 99 receptions this last year. Major differences, a difference of about 400 yards and about 5 touchdowns. Like, that's my thing. Yes, with his big body and stuff, but is he just more of a smaller, slightly more athletic tight end on the outside for you than he is actually the dominant number 1 wide receiver that you're wanting him to be? Like, that's I love Pittman's game. He's a great big target, but great big target that only got 4 touchdowns. Now, he had 51 first down catches, which was almost pretty much the most of anybody of this whole division. So he's good for moving the chains for you, and looking at his yards per catch at 9.3, 57.8 yards per game, like that correlates. So, but my thing is like, yeah, you can move the chains, but I need you to make some big time plays and get the ball in the end zone for me here too. Now, granted, his quarterback situation hasn't been great,
and it's not going to get better. Not for what he wants.
No.
They also drafted a receiver. So, like,
Josh
they
Downs
did help him out. Josh Downs.
Now, well, so this is my thing.
Little slot receiver.
With his average draft position, I think that Pittman's going to have a lot of value because of everything you just said, Justin. He's a scrappy, not sexy, going to get you 15 targets a game, and he's also going to put up probably like 8 or 9 catches for 50 yards. And if that's my number 3 option at receiver, I'm happy with that. Like, I think that does a lot for me compared to DeAndre Hopkins. At 51, I've got to get DeAndre Hopkins, or I can wait to 70 and get Pittman instead. I'd way rather wait to 70 and get Pittman as that safer,
AR can
younger
open
option.
him up in the running game. Like, the way he uses his legs will, like,
exactly.
draw in those cornerbacks in. It'll have to. The way Lamar
now that'll
does.
Probably help Josh Downs more than anything. I'm excited to see how the 2 rookies get to like create, because they get to work with each other a little bit longer. They get rookie mini camp, then they get the mandatory mini camp, then they get training camp. So him and Josh Downs should have already been thrown for a while. If they can get a little bit down, I mean, the cannon that Anthony Richardson has with the speed that Downs has could be very, very hard to cover.
I love Josh Downs.
Yes, I'm very excited.
Who do you compare him to, like, player comp?
Josh Downs?
Yeah.
See, for him, he's more of he's just like slight in his size and everything like that. Like, come to mind, like, you looking at, like, not Andrew Hawkins, because he was just tiny as hell. But, like, I mean, less
Eagles
athletically
receiver
of a Jalen Waddle.
I can't think of his name. What's the best receiver for the Eagles of all time? Fast
best
guy
receiver for the Eagles of all
time.
He
played from last year. Deshaun Jackson.
Yeah,
I couldn't think of his name. I think that's probably what I would comp, because he's got that outside blazing speed.
Okay.
But he's not like, he's not 6'2". He's not like he's going to be able to high point like a Devontae Adams. And he doesn't seem to have too much of a route tree where he's just like elusive on the inside, in and out of his cuts like a slot receiver. He seems like he's that big play X that's down the field, blowing past your safety.
He's wearing number 1. You don't wear number 1 if you're not the guy.
Sure.
Coach Prime said that.
That's true. That's very true. It takes a lot of balls to wear number 1.
I said Coach Prime said that.
I think Jelani Woods, tight end, 34. I'm excited about what he's doing because of what he did last year. He took a step forward. Tight end is absolutely the hardest position to draft because there's all these guys that are supposed to be the guy this year. Alberto is probably the best example of like last year's super huge disappointment that just came out of left field. Like, everyone had kind of expected Cole Kmet to either be good or not be good, but Alberto was just like, oh, Russ is there and he's supposed to be the shit now, and he didn't do anything. So I think
now,
that
this year, though, watch out for him because he's got Sean Payton.
There you go. You know what I'm saying? That's Jimmy G's godfather.
Yep.
The Colts still have Mo Alley Cox, though, right? So they got 2 mountains. They should.
They may.
No, I don't know if they still got Mo Alley. They do have another guy behind him. I'm pretty sure his last name's Blanton, something along the. He was more of like their goal line tight end, and I liked there was a few games there where, I had some prop bets in on Michael Pittman and Alec Pierce, and Jelani Woods just kept getting fed the ball, and I was just like, who is this guy? What is happening? And I mean, he only 40 targets, only 25 receptions, but 12.5 yards per catch and 3 touchdowns. And most of that was coming at the end of the year when he really started to catch his groove there. Like, I think Jelani and Michael Pittman have both some value, especially with Anthony Richardson. You're going to look for your number 1 wide receiver. You're going to look for your tight end. Alec Pierce is the guy to where, you maybe thought he was going to take a next step this next year. I don't see it coming this year. Like
because of
14.3
Anthony
yards per
Richardson.
catch, 2 touchdowns. Like, I think you're probably looking at about his same stat line this coming year. Like, I don't see much happening as far as their offense. Like, I don't know how much their offense is going to throw the ball around. Like, Anthony
It's another
Richardson,
huge
he
question
has a
mark.
legit howitzer on his arm. He will throw it 90 yards if he needs to. But the problem is he
Where's it
going
gonna
to
drop?
have the time or confidence to be able to do that? Because as a rook with his athleticism, it's very hard not to see open field and take it. Very hard.
Oh yeah, that green light, but I wanted to see how much he can like really fight off these defensive linemen coming into his face to create more time for receivers to get open, because that's scary when a quarterback can do that. That's like Patrick Mahomes style. Like if you're creating that much time, these guys can just extend the field and get wide open, and there's no stopping it.
I mean, the guy's Cam Newton, except for he runs a 4.4.
He's a D
sub
lineman playing quarterback
40.
right now.
Like,
I mean,
yeah, that's a great way to put it. Because he's got the size, speed, and
fucking puts his
athleticism of
face,
those guys.
fucking hand in your face
Yeah.
like he's Derrick Henry.
So we've kind of gave our outlooks on the other two teams. The Colts, I see them winning maybe 6 or 7 games this year, sneaking a few past a couple teams. Hell, they snuck one past the Chiefs last year, so I don't put it past them. It's going to be one of those years to where you're not looking at the end of the season result. You're more just looking to see the production and the improvement out of these rookies with, Anthony Richardson and Josh Downs, how they mesh in with the rest of the team. You're hoping Jonathan Taylor stays healthy. Like, that's more what you're hoping for. It's not a playoff year. It's not a championship window right now. Like, so just hope for the best and get to next year. And hell, I'll always say it till the day that I die. If you're not making the playoffs, does not matter. Just go ahead and have the worst record and stock up on those draft picks, because that's the only way to build your team.
Now, I disagree with you for one reason. I think that their window to opening the playoffs just started as soon as they drafted at number 4 or 5 overall. Whenever they picked Anthony Richardson, they just put a time clock on how long they're going to be able to be good, unless he develops. If he develops as a passer, then it's an unlimited amount of time. He could be Mike Vick after prison, potentially, that type of passer. Like, that would be amazing.
But they're not making the playoffs this season.
Well, I don't know. Again, if he looks like Lamar, and he takes the league by storm, then they're going to have a hard time for him not winning games. We think that the Jaguars are going to be the best on paper.
And you said it, in his second season.
That's
his rookie year, he played in about 9 games. He started 3 of them.
And he looked good in the ones he started.
He had 700 rushing yards his rookie year.
In 9 games.
Exactly. So I don't see Anthony Richardson doing that this season. Now, coming in year number 2, Lamar won an MVP year number 2. Patrick Mahomes won an MVP year number 2. Like, it's not unheard of. So next year,
another thing
not
is Anthony Richardson played for 4 years in college. Lamar came out after his 3rd. Everyone thought he wasn't going to get drafted in the first round because he didn't play that 4th year with Louisville, but he came out early, and he still got picked up by the Ravens as the last quarterback in the first round. So I think that the reason that everyone expects Anthony Richardson to start is why I can't count them out from making a Super Bowl run. I mean, this guy could legitimately do something that no one could ever stop. That's a potential possibility.
As of right now, him and Gardner Minshew are said to be splitting first-team reps in camp. And the expectation is Gardner Minshew, barring anything, crazy going on in the preseason or anything like that,
which
would start the season, because they're not trying to rush Anthony Richardson in. So that's what I'm saying too as well.
I'm going to tell you,
Gardner Minshew,
I'm going to tell you a
not this
really
year,
quick story.
Next year.
So back in the day, Matt Hasselbeck got signed by this team to a big, huge contract. At the same time, they were like, you know what? For the future, we're going to go ahead and take this guy in the 3rd round, because all these other quarterbacks are going in the 1st round, like Andrew Luck. And then That guy took over training camp and won the starting position by week 1. Training camp just fucking started. So I don't care what they're splitting now. I care what they're splitting after the 3rd week.
I won't be shocked if he's starting week 1. I won't be shocked. I'm just saying.
We'll see. By the way, Austin,
this year are very
that was
low.
Russell Wilson. That little story that we were telling. That was Russell Wilson.
What do you
Don't know
mean
if you
by
knew
that?
that.
No,
Matt Hasselbeck, he took his shit
Got
from the
you.
Seahawks.
Oh, yes.
His
got
first
you, got
year.
You, got you.
Matt Hasselbeck got signed to a huge contract. Not huge, but like big enough. Was it Flynn? Oh, it was Flynn after he took over for Rodgers.
He had a 6 touchdown game in the last week versus the winless Lions and had a 6 touchdown game and then got a huge contract from the Seahawks because they were like, oh, he's been sitting behind Rodgers for a few years. He's got the talent. Look at him. And then Russ came in and was like, yeah, fuck your contract, bro. I'm just going to go ahead and take this. Let me cook.
Took him to a Super Bowl that year, too.
Yep.
They didn't win that one.
So low expectations for the Colts this year, and even lower expectations for the next.
For this next team, which, if for those of you guys that are keeping track, is the Texans. Now, I've already said in last week's episode, I have expectations for the Texans because of their coaching change. I think that Saleh took the Jets and changed them. McDaniels took the Dolphins and changed them right away. So to think that the Texans are just going to look like the Texans when they already had probably the best passing defense in the league last year, and they just added the best defensive coordinator as their head coach, I have some high expectations.
Quarterback in the draft.
For their defense.
Stroud, man. For their defense. Their offense isn't going to be great.
Any offensive weapons, bro. Like even going through this and looking at what they're looking at, like this year,
right there.
Like they brought in Robert Woods. I love Bobby Trees. I love Bobby Trees, but he's at the end of his career. He's
always been a number 2 at best.
They are getting John Mechie the third back. John Mechie the third is coming back. That's huge. Nico Collins, when healthy, solid as hell. 48 yards per game, 8 big time plays. Like Nico Collins is not bad, and they've got Schultz.
I'm going to disagree with that statement. I don't think
they've got that one guy to put him over the top right now.
Nico Collins, as I was going through his stats, didn't show up anywhere that was just like, oh, that's impressive. Like, he had no touchdowns, no receptions, no yards, and he was the only fucking guy there. He was the only fucking guy there. Him and Brandon Cooks.
He only played 10 games.
But they were trying to lose games.
I didn't realize that.
They weren't trying to win. They were running the ball when they didn't even need to.
Austin, they didn't get the first pick, because they didn't lose their last game.
I know, they fucked up that.
I don't think it's...
threw a big middle finger to everyone in that organization and said, watch this.
Bro, yeah, for real though.
A Hail Mary to fuck up your season?
That was the most OG shit, and I loved every second of it, because they did Lovey absolutely dirty. D'Amico loved the hire, but Lovey Smith should still be the head coach there. He should get the chance with the young guy and the young team and to actually make it work, not give him Davis Mills and say, hey, we hope it kind of works out for you. Go try to win the division.
Because now that looks bad on him. He's got to deal with that for years to come.
All of the coaches that have left San Francisco and gone to start their new systems all have something in common. They've all attempted to make the running game a focus. We want to increase our productivity in the running game, which will then help the pass game, which will then help the run game, and etc. So I think Dameon Pierce being ADP 46, 18th running back off the board as a number 1 overall, as a number 1 option on his team, and there's nobody else. Who the fuck else is touching the ball besides Dameon Pierce running it on this team?
They did bring in Devin Singletary from Buffalo, so they do have a guy.
That's a passing down back.
But exactly, and Dameon Pierce only played 13 games.
He was great in the pass last year.
900 yards.
And he was also great in the pass. He was, he didn't have a lot of receptions, but he had quite a few receiving touchdowns. He was 17th in reception touchdowns, 25th in 29th in rushing. Dameon Pierce is absolutely the person I'm excited for on the Texans. Everyone else could give a fuck less about. Stroud, I am interested. If Stroud had a couple of options, so like whenever Stroud gets the Josh Allen treatment and a big name receiver comes to him, I think that Stroud's going to be unbelievable. But until he gets that, he's going to have a hard time being an elite guy.
Bro,
They
we
would
did
have a
not
chance
get to
for
see
Marvin
Mechie.
Harrison Jr. next year,
We
but
didn't
they
get
can't
to see
because they
Mechie.
traded it to Arizona.
Y'all boys are sleeping. He's an Alabama receiver. He was looking like Calvin Ridley out there.
I said them getting John Mechie back was huge.
No, I
love
know, but
Mechie.
I'm saying you guys are saying like
also
they ain't
got
got their
Noah Brown,
guy.
and they
but I'm
drafted
saying
Tank Dell this year.
it's all 4 of these teams have a huge question mark on like whether or not they can bring it or not. And I think that CJ Stroud with Mechie and Nico Collins and Schultz, like fucking Dameon Pierce is I think the most fierce running back in the league when he has the ball in his hands, like running. He just does not want to go down.
He runs very angry.
Bro, it's angry as shit.
And he was a rookie last year.
Like I said,
interesting
13 games played, and he still got 900 yards. Didn't even play a full season and almost hit the 1,000-yard benchmark that you're looking for.
It's a team you don't have a lot of film on, so like it's hard whenever you're trying to study up on this Texans team. Like you're just gonna oversleep them, and they're gonna come out with the fucking bang. They got Will Anderson on defense.
They are, but
their
they'll
defense has been
also
looking better.
They will not win more than 5 games this year.
I don't believe that. I believe they'll get up to like 6 or 7.
So
at least.
that's swept across the board by the division then, and then you think that they pull up or like maybe one.
If
versus
they
the Colts?
steal a game in the division, I think they would steal one from the Colts. I don't see the Titans messing around. Like the Titans had Malik Willis and ran Derrick Henry 45 times and still beat the Texans last year. Like, granted, that was a horrible Texans offense, and we're looking at a new team this year.
They had wet paper towel stopping the run. We talked about how good their
Titans
passing
had
defense
Malik
was.
Willis, who threw 7 passes for a total of like 21 yards. Like,
well, would you throw versus the Texans? No, I wouldn't either.
Well, still, but that's what I'm saying. Like the Texans, it's another thing. Same thing with the Colts. You're just hoping your rookies develop. You're hoping the veterans you brought in make their contributions and they're worth their money. Sucks that you traded away your early draft pick for next year because that would be a very high value pick, whether you decide to keep it or trade
getting
it.
Will Anderson is. I like getting Will Anderson there. I know that you could have potentially gotten
but that's where
somebody.
I'm saying though, like Will Anderson, he needs to have a great
rookie
career.
Campaign.
Not even rookie campaign. Like because of what you traded away for the possibility of next year, we're talking about give CJ Stroud a number 1 target. Marvin Harrison Jr., his ex-wide receiver, is staring at them early in the draft next year. He's going top 3. Should be going number 1, but somebody's going to take a quarterback. And that's what you would have the possibility of pairing him with. Now, if Will Anderson Jr. comes out and he's the next coming of Aaron Donald or J.J. Watt or Myles Garrett, like one of these elite defenders, fuck me. Like you did what you saw in him and you rolled the dice and you got it. Awesome. But to me, anything short of consistent Pro Bowl and sniffing all pro seasons every season, that could come back to bite them in the ass. Like Will Anderson Jr. cannot come in and have a Jadeveon Clowney type career.
Agreed.
He absolutely needs to come in and have a stellar career to where you're talking about him every year as one of the top 5 to 7 defensive players at his position, at least. So now, I don't hate the pick, but
Bobby Trees and Dalton Schultz. Dalton Schultz is tight end 12. Bobby Trees is wide receiver 85. Both of those have tons of value. Tank Dell potentially as well. Honestly, the Texans receivers have always had so much value because they're still going to get the ball. It was Brandon Cooks for a long time, but there's going to be someone there that catches the ball. They're going to be down by points all the time.
They also picked him up.
I don't know if he didn't qualify for stats.
Receiver.
He was a second overall. He was a second round pick for Green Bay.
But like he's kind of like a Bobby Trees. Like he'll snag the ball. He's a good receiver. He'll get open. Like it's just another weapon to put in there. Like I don't mind that one.
And you're looking at garbage time points.
Yes, that's exactly what I was saying with Trees and Schultz. Is like if those guys are the security blankets for this young quarterback, then which they could be. I mean, they're going to be the ones that create separation the most. Schultz is a great tight end. I can't believe that Dallas let him go so easily. That was probably just because of the money.
I wanted the
I
Dolphins to sign him
cannot.
in free agency, but I just knew they wouldn't because of the price tag.
Yep.
So I'm pissed for two reasons about the Cowboys letting Schultz go and like the Texans picking him up, because I was so like wanting this tight end on the Texans to blow up, and it's Brevin Jordan. He is like Darren Waller. You know what I'm saying? He's Darren Waller, bro. And like he was about to blow up, and then now they got Schultz to hold him back a little bit. But like I think that's a sleeper tight end because I think they could make.
See,
a
I
serious
don't
connection.
see that.
He's just
I
a
think
great
they
athlete.
got Schultz that allows them
You guys are
to
talking about
open
these weapons.
Brevin up in the passing game more.
But that's what I'm
I
saying.
think
You guys
as
are
well-
talking about where's these weapons. I think they have
Brevin
so
is
many
more
weapons
of a
spread
like
out.
Jaziki style, to where he's more effective as a pass catcher than he is as a blocker by far.
100%.
He can get the job done. Like, he's not a wet paper towel, but if you're able to have Schultz on the line and you're able to have Brevin as a big slot, that right there is giving you chess pieces for your quarterback and multiple safety blankets. And so I do like that point with them still having Brevin Jordan there. Like, he's a tight end who rocks a single digit. I'm going to talk about jersey numbers all season, buddy. Like, you look good, you feel good, you feel good, you play good, you play good, you eat good, you eat good, you pay good, you pay good, you sleep good. Like, it's the mantra.
This
I was
man right
wondering
here
when
said
that
it
was going to
best.
stop.
This man right here says it best.
Actually, it was your other little guy you held up earlier that said it originally.
Shit, you right. He
Prime?
does
Prime
at
time.
prime
Yeah,
when he
that's
says
prime
it.
time,
Yeah,
baby.
he ats prime. Yeah.
That's prime time, baby.
Shout out.
Well, I think that was another successful episode in the books. If you guys got any questions that you guys want us to answer about next week, who are you guys thinking about covering next week? We got to go back to the NFC.
Austin, you want to do your NFC East?
Let's hit that east side, baby.
NFC East next
And
week?
then we'll go
Hey,
AFC East after that.
Okay.
Hey, hold the gang signs, all right? So, thanks
Well,
for joining us, everybody. Go ahead and leave us some comments. We'll go ahead and answer any questions you guys have next week at the beginning of the episode. Make sure to subscribe, hit that bell icon, send everybody a Twitter, tweet and twitten. Is that what the kids say?
Tweeter.
All right.
At @ProFootball_pod on the Twitter machine there.
There we are. All right, boys. See you again next week.
Love you guys.
So-
Peace. Subscribe.
Did you shout